Wonderful. All right. Welcome everyone to our latest installment of What's Buzzing. We are so excited to have so many people on our call today. The number just keeps ticking up. We're at like 120 now. So with that, this has been a topic that I think we've been really excited about for a little while. And so we're so thankful for our friends through the Career Center helping us out today, learn really a variety of things. We have Andrea Comsa, Director of Undergraduate Co-op and Internship, as well as Laura Garcia, Director of Undergraduate Career Education, and they are here to share some sort of wide angled lens of our career center, but then they also are going to drill down into the co-op and internship program as well. So I'm going to turn it over to them and they are going to lead us, and we will answer questions at the end. So if you think of a question as they are presenting, feel free to go ahead and pop that in the chat, and we'll get to those after the presentation. So thank you all so much for joining us.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Laura Garcia again. We can go ahead on over to the next slide. So I'm excited to be joined by my colleague, Andrea. She's going to take a deep dive into our co-op and internship program. But just to give you a sense of what we'll go over today, I want to be sure you are familiar with the Career Center, understand the services that we can provide to your students. We'll give an overview of kind of key services, things to be aware of, as well as some top resources we often promote to students. We'll go through that co-op and internship program, and I always like to end on what we call the Georgia Tech competitive candidate formula and skills that are needed to be competitive in the workplace. Next. All right, so this is the beautiful view of the building where I am, talking with you today. So we are located in the Billmore Student Success Center. If your student does not know where that is, they definitely know where the football stadium is, and they should 100% know where Tech Tower is. And we are sandwiched right in between, and we are built into the stadium. So if you came to campus, perhaps with your student, came for financial aid, some previous admissions sort of visits, you likely went to this particular building. So big picture, the Career Center provides a lot of services to our students, from career advising. So perhaps they've decided on a particular industry or job function they plan on pursuing. We'll walk them through the whole steps of ultimately, hopefully, attaining that particular role that they're seeking. We can help them explore their options, identify who are the top employers, what are some different pathways that may be available to them. Andrea helps oversee our employer connections team. So we provide lots of great opportunities, from career fairs, on-campus interviews, many opportunities for students to meet and make connections with employers. And we'll be talking about the co-op and internship program shortly. So we can go ahead. To drill down a little bit more into our services, so naturally we do provide one-on-one individual advising, and we have several different advisors within our respective teams. So we have specialists that work with both undergraduate students as well as graduate students. We also have career education program managers that are tied to 3 of the 6 colleges at Georgia Tech, so Ivan Allen College, College of Design, and College of Sciences. These program managers provide customized programming and resources tailored to these student populations. We also have an online career services manager who works with our large online master's populations, as well as career peer advisors that also provide that peer-to-peer advice to students. We have a lot of events, tons of workshops. We also have a whole lot of recorded webinars and workshops that your student has available to them through a platform called MediaSpace, and that's mediaspace.godtech.edu. You do have to log in with GT login credentials, but you can get a better sense of the library, the types of topics and information we share with students. We do have drop-in hours, which are 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday in the fall and spring semester. So if your student ever has a question, needs immediate assistance, sometimes employers will call you and the next day you have an interview. We want to be sure that we're available to help with those just-in-time needs. We have, of course, the co-op and internship program and the registration process. We oversee the All Majors Career Fair, excuse me, as well as some other boutique fairs like the Building Construction Fair, Architecture, City and Regional Planning, for example. But do be aware that there are many career fairs that are offered at Georgia Tech. Many of them may be managed through specific departments. So we do not manage every career fair, but there's a great site out there that you should make sure you are aware of as well as your student, and that is careerfair.godtech.edu. Any career fair that we are aware of that's happening on campus will be listed on the site. We actually have a virtual career fair coming up. It's the ACC SEC virtual career fair. I believe it's on April 9th, but check me on that web address, which again was careerfair.godtech.edu. So if your student is currently seeking internship, co-op, full-time, whatever that end goal may be, there are some opportunities still that remain this semester. As I mentioned, we help manage an on-campus interview program where employers will come to campus, and in our downstairs recruiting suite, we'll conduct interviews with students. We do have a variety of different online resources available to students. InterStride is kind of the gold standard for international students. If you're a student, I believe I heard earlier that somebody was calling in from India. I have no idea what time it is. I bet it's probably pretty late, so thank you for joining. That's a really great site to learn more about jobs in the US as well as jobs abroad, and lots of helpful resources if your student may have questions about OPT, CPT, etc. We have Career Buzz that we'll talk about a little bit more, as well as some other top guides. We do have the campus closet that we manage as well. So if your student comes to campus, they have a professional meeting, an interview, and they do not have a suit, like I didn't have a suit until maybe senior year of college of that, they can come to the clothing closet and actually take items for free and utilize them, however they like. They can keep it into perpetuity, or whenever they're done, donate it back to the closet. We did cover a variety of different topics in GT 1000 and 2000 courses. I think that is an excellent course for every student to take. I view it as an extended orientation session where we talk through kind of how to manage your time at Georgia Tech, from academics to tutoring to understanding, as they get closer to their time exiting the institute, how to effectively engage with employers. And we talk about the basics of resume writing through these respective courses. And just so you are aware, the Career Center serves alumni up to 2 years after graduation. After that, Alumni Career Services kicks in. They've got a great website full of resources as well. You can go ahead. So here's who we are, just to put some faces to names. These are not all of the members of the Career Center, but these are the ones that are student facing. So you'll see me at the bottom there. Again, Laura Garcia, that is my undergraduate team. That's all right. In the middle, these are our graduate career development advisors and those respective teams, as well as Andrea and her team. We just had a new member join, so apologies. I don't think we might have the headshot, but I don't know if we have it up on the website just yet, or I missed that. So we'll have another face, which I'm really excited will join this slide soon. There's a little bit about who we are and what we do on this slide as well. But we can help your student with a lot of different topics. I often get questions from academic partners and others asking, what do students ask you about? Is it just resume writing? Yes, certainly I would say that's a top question that comes in. But we also help students with decision making and creating a strategy for themselves. So this time of year, oftentimes I'll talk with students who may be juggling offers or trying to figure out, how do I handle this? It's my first job offer. How do I evaluate it? So we're happy to be a partner to talk them through their options and different things they should consider as they evaluate the opportunity. We do help with identifying employers. We'll help them every step of the way with that job and internship search, from identifying employers to preparing the materials that they need, from the resume, the cover letter. We also do mock interviews and provide opportunities each semester for interview directly with a professional and employer. So we do that both virtually as well as in person. We can talk to students about networking, how to set up that LinkedIn profile, salary negotiation, so anything and everything tied to the job search. We can go ahead. So let's talk a little bit about CareerBuzz. So CareerBuzz is our top platform that every student should be familiar with. They have access to it 24/7. This is where they can schedule appointments to meet with advisors. This is where students would go to register their experiences for co-ops and internships. This is where all of our job postings are listed. And what's nice about this platform is students, if they go in, they can set up something called a job search agent. So if they wanted to, after graduation from Georgia Tech, to work in New York City, for example, they could set up specific search criteria and make the system email them either daily if something comes in that matches their criteria, weekly, so on and so forth. So that's a really great feature of the system. Through this, students can also schedule interviews with employers if they're coming on campus to participate in that program. That's where all of our events are located as well, including career fairs. So students can see employers that are coming to the event, what they're hiring for. And there are a lot of other features that students may want to go through there as well. So let me turn it over to my colleague, Andrea, to talk a little bit more about the co-op and internship program, as well as E2L.
All right, so thank you so much for joining us. It's actually very exciting that so many of you are interested in the Career Center resources, as well as the co-op and internship program. So just to give you a little bit of context, the co-op and internship program actually is within two departments, one of them being the experiential and engaged learning that is encompassing of what we call high impact practices. And these are co-curricular programs that really enhance the students' academics here at Georgia Tech. So they encompass experiential learning programs in addition to co-ops and internships, so such as undergraduate research, entrepreneurship and innovation, community-based learning. So we have a variety of experiences that students can get engaged in to complement their academics and gain those additional skills and work experience. So I am particularly going to be focusing on co-ops and internships at the undergraduate level. However, I know that there was a question in the Q&A about internships for graduate students. So yes, those opportunities are also available for graduate students. And we actually have an entire team that supports graduate students with preparing for their search for these internships and also supporting them throughout their internships at the various companies where they are securing these experiences. So with that said, in terms of the co-op program, so that is a program that has been in existence at Georgia Tech for over 100 years. And if you're an alumni of Georgia Tech, I'm sure that you are quite familiar with the co-op program, but this was the main experience back in the day that Georgia Tech students could engage in. So that co-op program still exists currently at Georgia Tech. We have numerous students who are going through the program, but the way that it's set up is that it requires students to complete 3 work terms with the same employer. And these 3 work terms are typically 2 long regular academic semesters and a summer that they're alternating with their academic semesters here at Georgia Tech. The experiences are relevant and they have to align with the student's current major or the discipline that they're currently pursuing. And then once the student is securing a co-op experience, they can actually turn it around and register it with the Career Center. So all students who are co-oping should be registering these experiences with the Career Center. And once they register with the Career Center, they are enrolled in a co-op course. And there are many benefits to it that I'm just going to go over in a second. But we work with them during their experience while they're out working with the company and engage them in various ways. So again, the co-op program is different from the internship program by the length that it's requiring students to complete. So by the time that a co-op student is completing the program, they have about a year experience under their belt. And one thing to keep in mind is that those 3 work terms that the students is co-oping are going to be done with the same employer. And the benefit of the co-op program is that the 3 work terms that they are completing, students are actually gaining what we call progressive experience because their responsibilities are growing from one work term to the other. We also have a very strong alumni support for the co-op program. We do have various endowment funds that support the program, and there are also numerous scholarships that if the students are engaging in the co-op program, they potentially would be eligible to apply for. Now, the internship program really complements the co-op program. The internship experiences typically are 1 semester long. They can be pursued in any of the academic semesters. So students, and typically at Georgia Tech, most of the students are engaging in internships during the summer. This is when we actually see the largest number of students that are going out on these experiences. And then if they decide to continue internships, they can do so part-time in the fall semester or spring semester, or they can engage in these experiences right from the start on a part-time basis if they also want to take courses. One of the things that we want to ensure of is that students are still making academic progress towards their degree, and that they are using these experiential learning experiences to add on to their knowledge and skills they're gaining in the workplace. Now, the one thing, also there are lots of companies who are doing 6 months experiences, and they call these experiences co-ops. These on our side actually fall under the internship program. So those experiences are also available for students. They are typically running across the spring and a summer semester, or a summer and a fall semester. Now, the difference between the two, and sometimes we get the question from students on, well, which program should I be engaging in? It really depends. The co-op program gives you the opportunity, or gives students the opportunity, to really immerse themselves in the culture of the company that they're working with. They're almost considered as an employee of the company because of the length of the experience that they're pursuing. The internship program provides a little bit more flexibility to where students, if they are interested in engaging in other co-curricular activities, they can actually do so. And we have a lot of students who do various internships. They can do 2 or 3. There is really not a limit to the number of internships that they can do, again, as long as they're progressing also academically. So we have a lot of students who might do a summer internship with one industry, and the next summer they're picking another industry, and they can do these experiences with various companies. So really, that is the difference between the co-op and internship program. Co-op is a lengthier program, and when the students are going out on these rotations, they're always going to be working full-time with the company. While internships are 1 semester long experiences, they can be done numerous times with various companies, and they can vary between full-time experiences and part-time experiences. All right, we can move on to the next slide. All right, so why do we call these experiences high impact? One of the things is, and we ensure of this whenever these opportunities are posted with the Career Center, but we want to make sure that there are meaningful experiences that in which students are able to tie the theory with practice. The other thing, students, while they are enrolled in a co-op or internship course, and I know there was somebody, Valerie, who was asking about assignments. Yes, there are some assignments that students will have to complete. They are not lengthy assignments, and really it gives the students the opportunity to set goals for themselves at the beginning of the experience. And then at the end of the experience, they are completing what we call a self-evaluation, in which they are assessing the skills that they have gained, and also how much they were able to fulfill their goals that they set at the beginning of the semester. So really, there are 3 assignments that students complete throughout the length of their experience. There is the goals and learning objectives form at the beginning. Then there is a midterm evaluation in which we follow up with the students. And the reason we do so is we want to make sure that the experience is going really well. And if there are any concerns or anything that we need to look into, that the students are letting us know, so we can follow up with them and guide them through the process. And then there is that self-evaluation that students are completing at the end of the work term that really helps them look back and assess and reflect on the skills and experiences that they have gained as a result of a co-op or an internship. We are definitely seeing that students who are engaging in these experiences tend to have higher GPAs. higher starting salaries because, again, they do bring work experience at the time that they're securing that full-time job. We are seeing and have seen in the past faster promotion opportunities because they are ready to hit the ground running. And then they have an easier transition from school to work as well because they have been in the real world, they're experienced those professional settings. So we definitely see lots of outcomes in which these students are quite successful when they're launching their initial full-time job or potential career. All right, we can move on to the next slide. All right, so these are some of the values and definitely why we want students to register these experiences with the Career Center. So just as I mentioned before, students can enroll in an audit hour tuition-free course that keeps them enrolled at Georgia Tech. This course shows up on the transcript. So while they are enrolled in this course, there is no tuition or no fees that they have to pay unless they want to engage into CRC, which is the Campus Recreation Center, or additional activities. But those are fees that they can choose to pay separately. Also, students, because these are paid experiences, they definitely can then make some good income as a result of engaging in co-ops and internships. So one thing that does not count against them on the FAFSA form is the income that they're making as a result of these experiences. We also work with housing to where if the student has a housing contract, they can actually suspend that housing contract without penalty if they secure a co-op or an internship in any of the academic semester. And then they also can keep their GT Health insurance on a voluntary plan. So there's that voluntary plan that they can purchase while they're out working, so that way they don't have interruption in their GT Health insurance, if that is a plan that they have. Career advisors are also available to work with them throughout their experiences. So if they have any questions or run into any type of issues while they're on the experience, they can definitely reach out to us. We're more than happy to assist them. And then I know we get this question quite a lot. By how much is graduation extended if a student is engaging in a co-op? So on an average, it's about 1 semester, potentially 2 semesters. But remember, again, that once the student is graduating, they actually have a whole year of work experience under their belt. And I mentioned that students are, we're seeing higher GPAs because students tend to understand better the material that is provided to them in the classroom once they understand how that is getting applied in the workplace. And then on the average, students earn between $20 to $22 an hour. It also depends on the region, but I'm going to share with you some stats as well that you can see average hourly rates. And then students who are completing the 3 work terms in the co-op program, they receive the co-op designation on their graduating diploma. And again, students who are engaged in the co-op program can potentially also qualify for the various scholarships that are available through the various endowment funds that we have available. All right, we can move on to the next slide. And here are some stats. So we do have quite a number of students that are engaging in these experiences, and both co-op and internship programs are optional programs, so they don't count toward the degree requirements of the students. But again, there is the value of gaining work experience, also developing career readiness skills, and gaining additional knowledge. So valuable experiences to be engaged in. And the other thing that we're seeing, so this is based on a career salary survey that graduating students are completing at the time of graduation. But we do have a question in there for them to where we ask them if their full-time employment has been secured with a company that they previously interned or co-opted with. So what we're seeing from the number of students who are taking the survey and responding, that 34% of the students are actually securing full-time opportunities with previous companies that they have worked with. All right, we can go to the next slide. And so when students are registering their opportunities with the Career Center, one of the questions that we're asking is the hourly pay rate that they are receiving from the company. So that is how we're able to provide this information. This is what you're seeing. It is based on the program and is broken down by the various colleges from where students are engaging in these experiences. And then you can also see a regional breakdown based on where students are going for these experiences as well. And then again, it can vary, as you see, from region to region, depending on the experience, depending on the company, and then depending also on the location where students are going for these experiences. All right, we can go to the next slide. All right, so we also get asked the question quite a bit on how many of our students are staying local and how many of our students are actually going nationwide. So you can see the breakdown here, and it's almost about 50%. So we do have a large number of students that stay within the state. We're very fortunate on where Georgia Tech students is located because we have a lot of companies in the Metro Atlanta area that are recruiting our students for these experiences. But you can also see that we have a lot of companies that are also hiring nationwide. And we always encourage students that if they are from Georgia, that they might be considering an experience that is somewhere else within the United States, because that adds to a different experience when they are going into a new location that they might have not been familiar with. So that's another experience that they can tap into. And then we work with a lot of companies, anywhere from 800 to about 1,000 companies on a yearly basis that are hiring our students for these opportunities. The list that you're seeing is based on top hiring companies. So these are the companies based on the total number of hires that they are bringing on board for these opportunities. So again, this list is not comprehensive. It's just the companies that are bringing most of the students on board for these experiences. So we can move on to the next slide. All right, so there are many ways that students can secure co-ops and internships with the various companies that recruit at Georgia Tech. And just as an FYI, students can also secure these experiences on their own through their own networking or relations that they develop throughout their time at Georgia Tech or maybe outside of Georgia Tech. So they can definitely turn around and register those experiences with the Career Center. We just want to make sure that they do meet the requirements of our programs. But CareerBuzz is our main job posting system, and Laura has touched on this a little bit earlier, but this is where the majority of the companies that are recruiting for co-ops and internships are going to be posting their position. All students have a CareerBuzz account. All they need to do is activate it. And then once they activate their account, in order to be able to apply for co-ops and internships, they have to complete an experiential learning application. It doesn't take a long time. It should take them about 3 to 4 minutes to complete it. And the reason that we're requesting students to go through this application so they have a good understanding of the co-op and internship programs, and also making sure that they understand the commitment that the co-op program is requiring. So CareerBuzz, definitely a platform that they can utilize to identify and apply for co-op and internship opportunities. Laura also mentioned our career fairs. So the Career Center does oversee the 2 largest career fairs at Georgia Tech, which are the all majors career fairs. They are held twice a year, once in the fall and once in the spring semester. So students can definitely and we encourage students to tap into those career fairs. Fall is probably the largest recruiting season at Georgia Tech. A lot of the companies that come in the fall, they also will hire for the following summer. So they secure spring and summer candidates for their positions. We have a lot of companies who do employer information sessions. So these are typically 1 hour long sessions in which the company talks about what they have to offer, their culture, what it is that they're looking for in candidates. We also encourage students that if they are interested in a particular company, that they attend these information sessions. There is opportunity for Q&A and closer interactions with the recruiters that are holding these information sessions. Virtual career fairs, I did put earlier in the chat a link that will direct you to the page in which we're publishing upcoming career fairs. So we do have numerous career fairs that we participate in as part of a consortium. We also pull in virtual career fairs that we might not be holding, but could be beneficial for Georgia Tech students to be participating in. And then Georgia Tech per se also has 3 virtual career fairs that we hold on a yearly basis, in addition to all the in-person career fairs that are happening on campus. So school-specific career fairs, so these are smaller career fairs that are more major specifics and a little bit more targeted. So we do have companies that will participate in the all majors career fair and then also potentially go and participate in the College of Computing or maybe in a mechanical engineering career fair. So we do have lots of opportunities for students to be able to engage in and identify co-op and internships that they might be interested in pursuing. And then you also have a link. And by the way, these slides are going to be shared. And then you can actually click on the various links and it will take you straight to those resources that you can access off of our website. All right. And I'm going to pass it on to Laura.
All right. And Andrea, I left you a couple of questions in the chat. And if you're wondering why I've been looking down here, I've been trying to feverishly answer your great questions. So thank you all for sending those in. So a couple of top resources I wanted to make sure you were aware of so you could share them with students if they're not aware of them. Number one, our resume guide. So I get questions from parents often and families as well as students, why am I not getting any sort of response back from employers? And the first thing that I ask a student for is, show me your resume. Have you had it critiqued before? Usually that can be a source of many problems for students. They may not know the best practices, formatting, or they may have a generic resume that they're sending out to all of the jobs that are out there. They may not be aware of applicant tracking systems and how those systems can be leveraged against them if they do not tailor and customize their resume. So these and more very helpful tips are encapsulated within our resume career guide, which you can find on our website. Again, you'll get a copy of the slides. We also have several different resume templates that students can download and overwrite with their content. I encourage students to read through, regardless of their major or their background, several resume examples because many students will struggle with the same thing. How do I market my part-time work experience? How do I talk about class projects or student involvement? So the more that you start reading through resumes, it can spark, some ideas that may work best for them. We have access to an awesome platform. It's called Big Interview. It's somewhat of a misnomer because it does more than provide interview help for students. Through Big Interview, students can record their responses to common interview questions. There are also interview questions that are broken down by industry, job function. It's got a great AI feature too, to where students can record their responses. It will track eye movement, count the number of filler words. They could even send their recorded responses to you or others that they trust to get feedback on their respective answers. It has other guides and helpful information about how to prepare and why are employers asking this question? What type of information are they seeking from me? Through Big Interview, as I mentioned earlier, is a misnomer. We have a great new feature called Resume AI. I mentioned applicant tracking systems earlier. Many students may not be aware of what that is. I won't dive into that too much right now, but essentially it's Google-like technology that 99, if not all by this point, Fortune 500 companies utilize to essentially rank resumes based on how well they fit that job description. Many students at Georgia Tech want big brands. And these brands have systems that can rank based on how well you are essentially tailoring your document for whatever position it is to which the student is applying. So they can upload a job description. They can also upload their resume, and it will give feedback on any areas that they may be missing on their resume or should emphasize more to increase the likelihood that human eyes will actually review the resume. Not all employers will view, every resume that comes in. The LinkedIn University, the alumni tool is very helpful. If you log into LinkedIn and you search up Georgia Tech in the keyword box, students have access to a really cool database where they can essentially filter alumni that live in San Francisco, filter alumni that have studied their same major, so they can identify who are the employers that are hiring my major. Or maybe they want to live in New York. Maybe they want to go wherever it may be. Who are the employers that have hired Georgia Tech students in this particular geographic location? It's a great way for them to network, make professional connections. So that's just one small example of how we work with students to try to network, which is the number one way that most students find jobs, and better identify future career opportunities. We do have a great resource as well called our Vault Industry Guides. It does talk about, top 50 consulting firms, for example, but it also has other guides on case interview preparation, technical interviews, or students want to take a deep dive into what are some careers in sustainability? What does sustainability really mean? It's one of my favorite resources to utilize with students. All right, we can go ahead. Oh, and I saw the question come in, what did you say to type into LinkedIn? Type Georgia Institute of Technology, and you'll see an alumni tab. And under that alumni tab is where you can kind of filter alumni by a variety of different filters. It's really great. Now, I also wanted to touch on this before we kind of wrap up, get into the Q&A piece. So what to do if things don't line up quickly? So especially, I had a couple of questions come in about, my first year student or second year student hasn't gotten an internship, kind of what's going on with that? What should they do? Well, a couple thoughts. Number one, please don't let your student be discouraged. Depending on what they're trying to do, they may just have to wait until sophomore year or junior year to really be seriously considered by many employers. However, they should not stop applying to opportunities. It really varies depending on the employer. And not only that, the applicant pool, okay? So some of the students that come into Georgia Tech have done apprenticeships, or they've done some really awesome things through their high school that could make them very qualified and just as competitive as a student that has another year or two, at Georgia Tech. So please encourage your student to be persistent and to keep applying, but try not to be discouraged if they don't get selected. If they have a nice polished resume, they practiced interviewing, really just may just be a better matter of time. So if your student does not have something lined up this summer, please encourage them to continue to apply. But here's some other alternatives depending on how things go. One of my favorites is a site called theforage.com. So theforage.com, you see the link on site. This is something new within the employment space. It's essentially they call it a virtual experience program. So it's a great way for your student to build their resume. They can add it to their resume. And essentially various businesses from Boston Consulting Group, BCG, to JP Morgan Chase, a lot of brands that you're familiar with have created these modules that are designed to expose students to what it would be like to work in cybersecurity, law, patent law. So these are things that everybody has 100% access to year-round, 24/7, that they can go through. Some of these companies who have even put these virtual experiences out there use it as a sourcing tool and a way to recruit, folks that have completed it and done really well with the module. So that's an awesome thing that not a lot of students know about. All students have access to something called LinkedIn Learning. So a great option for a student who doesn't have something lined up for the summer is maybe deepen your skill sets. Maybe learn a new language, whether it's a computer language, foreign language. These are all, accreditations that they can add to their resume and can help them further grow. They could take a temporary job. They could work part-time. I think part-time work is undervalued sometimes by students, and they don't see it as, really being professional, or why would an employer want to hear about how I worked at a restaurant? but you gain valuable life skills through these experiences. You can learn about customer service, handling difficult situations, staying organized, so these are things that they can talk about on their resume and emphasize. I once worked with a C-suite level executive in New York, and he said, Laura, beyond just this major or other things that I look for, I said, what do you want to see on the resume for that first internship or experience? And he said, I love it when I see summer camps. You want to know why? It is hard to manage a large group of children and parents with high expectations. I've got to come up with activities. This is not an easy job to manage. So he loved that. That kind of set people apart. So just encourage your student to not dismiss these experiences. These absolutely are kind of the pre-steps that you need to take to get that first, professional co-op or internship. They can create a website, an online portfolio displaying their work. They can volunteer in the community, work part-time. They could shadow. They can create their own opportunities, get your student to think outside of the box, whether it's the virtual experience program, managing a website or social media for a local organization. These are all things that start filling up that page. They can conduct informational interviews with alumni. I just include an example of how, potentially they could display this activity on their respective resumes at the bottom. So we can go ahead. So I wanted to touch on this because this is an example slide that we include in our GT 1000, 2000 courses. So at Georgia Tech, academics are absolutely the #1 top priority. We encourage students to try as hard as they can, aim for that 3.0 or above. Doesn't mean that they can't get great job opportunities dipping below a 3.0, but it's helpful. There are some employers that have GPA requirements in order to be considered for positions. It's becoming less over time, but there are still employers that have those GPA preferences. So want to make sure students are aware, aim for that or higher. There are some industries like consulting or investment banking is a great example where their GPA requirements may be a 3.5 or above. So the more students kind of understand and know what they're working with, I think they can make, better decisions. Regardless of the major, they're going to have great career opportunities here at Georgia Tech. We encourage students to think about leadership. How can they gain that? It is important for students to get involved on campus. When I've talked with employers in the past about, what do they look for on a resume? Are there any red flags? Most often I'll hear from employers, if I don't see them involved in anything, I'm going to be concerned they don't have people skills or they may not be able to build relationships very well with others. So yes, they should spend time. Doesn't necessarily matter which student organization, but be involved, period. But beyond that, try to lead because many employers believe the best predictor of future performance is past performance. So if you show an aptitude of being able to lead others, even when it's not easy, they may think, okay, not only could I hire you for this job, but maybe you've got potential in the long term. And experience, it is critical for students to get one or more of these things, if you will. And this is not an all-comprehensive list. An internship, co-op, or do research during their time at Georgia Tech. If your student aspires to go directly into industry after their bachelor's degree, they need to prioritize getting that hands-on work experience. If a student wants to go to graduate school or go into research, they need to get research experience and spend more time and energy on that. That will make them more competitive when it comes to the application process in the future. So combining that, skills gained inside and outside of the classroom, so learning how to be a team player, learning how to communicate effectively, certainly they'll be gaining lots of great technical skills here at Georgia Tech, package that together, and ultimately these are the types of things, big picture items students should keep in their mind to help them become the top pick for competitive careers in graduate schools. And after this, I think is our question slide. Let's go ahead and stop there. I think Andrea's been doing a great job answering questions in the Q&A. I'll also pull this up. See if we can't. Okay. So there's a question earlier, Andrea, about an undergrad student in the second semester and if they were eligible for the co-op program or internship. Can you answer that one?
Yeah, so I actually answered it in the chat. So students, again, they can intern in any given academic semester. One of the things with the co-op program is because of the length of the program, once students complete their first rotation, they have to have 3 academic semesters left to be able to complete a second and third rotation. The third rotation of the co-op program cannot be completed in the graduating semester. So that's one of the things to keep in mind in terms of when students can engage in these opportunities. We encourage students, especially first-year students, to concentrate on their academics, at least their first semester here at Georgia Tech. And then once they complete the first semester, establish a GPA, they can start applying for co-ops and internships in the spring semester, potentially to secure something that following summer. So they can start in the summer after the 2 semesters they have been here at Georgia Tech. And then a co-op or an internship really can be started in any of the academic semesters. But for the co-op program, once you start the first rotation, the second and third rotations are projected on when the student has started that co-op rotation. I'll give you an example. So let's say that the student is starting their co-op rotation this summer semester. So they're going to go out and work with the company full-time during summer 2025. They're going to come back and take courses in that fall 2025 semester. They're going to go back out and work their second work term in spring of 2026, take courses in summer 2026, and complete the third work rotation in fall of 2026. So what they're doing, again, they're alternating those full-time work terms with their academics. If there is any change in the sequence of their co-op rotation, we can definitely work with the student and the company. Sometimes there are academic requirements in terms of when the courses can be offered. So if that is something that the student is reaching out about, we're going to be working with the student and with the company to change the sequence of the rotation. We also encourage students who are securing a co-op to actually meet with their academic advisor to plan out their co-op rotation and then also the courses that they need to be taking and the sequence of the courses that they need to take to complete their degree requirements.
There were a couple questions that came in, Andrea, as well, with concern about if registering a co-op or internship would impact, I think, financial aid, specifically Hope or Zell. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so actually, when it comes to scholarships, we always advise students to check in with financial aid because there are so many various scholarships that students secure. However, only billable hours are considered for Zell, Miller, and other similar scholarships. And because the co-op and internship program or courses are non-billable, those are not going to go for the scholarships. So the scholarships are actually put on hold while students are co-oping or interning, and they're registered for audit hours. And those kick back in once they are starting their courses and they're registered for academic credit. But again, if your student has any questions related to their scholarships or financial aid, we would strongly encourage them to check in with the financial aid office. But yes, only billable hours count for scholarships.
A couple other questions came in that we can talk through. So somebody asked about research opportunities and if they were impacted by government cutbacks. And yes, some have been. It's kind of difficult to predict, ultimately which particular agencies may be impacted, but that's the purpose of the Career Center, is to really be here to help students to identify, what are some other options that may be on the table. Maybe the goal might have been to work for a particular department that's either experiencing cuts or hiring freezes at this time. We can work with them to brainstorm and identify other options.
So when it comes to undergrad research, I'm actually going to put a link in here to our undergraduate research program because we do have faculty working on various research to where students, if they're interested, can check in with the faculty. and see if they would be interested in that research opportunity. So I'm going to put the link in there. And we also have an undergraduate research ambassador program. So these are students who are actually engaged in research as we speak or have completed undergrad research that can mentor and support students who are interested in pursuing those opportunities as well.
Okay. All right, a couple questions about working while doing co-ops and internships. Can you speak to, to that? Can they work full time?
Yeah, so we really discourage students to taking courses while they are working full time, just because we want to make sure that they can actually balance the workload that they might be assigned while they're co-oping or interning. Now, if a student decides to take a course or two while working full-time, either in a co-op rotation or an internship, we actually have them check in with their supervisor at the workplace that they secured this co-op and internship and make them aware that they're interested in taking a course. And then once we receive confirmation from their supervisor, we let the student know that they can go ahead and register for those classes. I will caution students again doing that while working full time. We definitely don't want, the workload to impact their academics or vice versa. So the reason that we want them to check in with their supervisor is to make sure that if they are taking a course, it's not impacting their work schedule or work performance at work.
Another question came in, is a student assigned someone from the Career Center? Do they meet with whoever's available, or are there certain counselors? So I would say yes and no. So our career development advisors work with students across all majors, all areas of study. Let me reassure you, we are very well trained and experts in working with students from all kind of majors and career aspirations, if you will. Now, we do have career education program managers, and they are assigned to 3 out of the 6 schools because they're providing more tailored and customized career services, because the types of careers many of those students in those colleges pursue don't traditionally recruit on campus through career fairs. So like I'm now in College of Liberal Arts, they may pursue public policy, they may go to graduate school, lots of different potential pathways. So the purpose of our program manager schools and the program managers is to provide more customized programming and employer connections to work with them. But there are many different folks that your students can work with. And we also host drop-in hours as well. I encourage students, hey, if you've got questions, it doesn't hurt to get multiple perspectives as well. People that have varying opinions on your resume or may give you some good advice on your next step or strategy. So there are lots of different outlets for your student. All right.
I think there was a question in there about freshmen securing either co-ops or internships. Yes, it's possible, but I will definitely let you know that there are not as many companies necessarily looking for freshmen. It also depends on the company and the role that they have. Companies also look at times at the courses that students have completed because they want to have more related knowledge to what it is that they're going to be doing. So it could be that they might not be considering freshmen just because of that reason. However, we had freshmen who made, an impact on particular recruiters, or the company actually were interested in recruiting them. So I wouldn't say that, no, there are no opportunities out there for first-year students, but there are probably not as many as for second-year students and on, because again, companies oftentimes are looking for the students to gain a little bit of knowledge that pertains to their major or the discipline that they are pursuing.
There any summer internships for a rising student at this time? If you go to Career Buzz, students have the ability to filter by internships. And kind of talking about something that was towards the beginning of the call, please encourage your student to set up job search agents. They can get emailed every single time an internship comes into the system. They can get an email every time a co-op comes in or anything that they put in, and they can set up multiple different agents to where they are immediately notified of what comes in. And, even though there is a typical hiring cycle within, college recruiting, it tends to be pretty heavy in the fall, heavy in the start of the spring. So it's kind of that peak, if you will. The world of work does not revolve around college. Okay, I always have to remind my college or my students, hey, I know it's March and you don't have something lined up, but guess what? Jobs open up every day. You got to stay active, keep applying, and make sure that you are utilizing your resources at hand. We have viewed thousands of resumes. We have talked to thousands of employers. We can pick up things pretty quickly if maybe there's, if they're applying and they're not hearing anything back, we're going to hone in on the resume and talk about the strategy. Are they targeting Fortune 500 companies as a first-year student and they're applying late in the semester, most likely you're not going to get the end result you're looking for, right? So that conversation is so critical. And if your student is getting to the interview and it's kind of stalling there, then that's where we need to talk through, what was that experience like? Let's do a mock interview. See if there may be something there that we could further enhance to hopefully achieve the outcome that your students are seeking. So job search agents, yes, those are all in CareerBuzz. All of our job postings are listed there. That's where your student will go to schedule an appointment to meet with us. There was a question earlier about drop-ins as well. So drop-ins are offered from 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. Your student can stop by. We can talk about anything and everything under the sun tied to the job search. So resumes, interviewing. This time of year, we get a lot of questions around decision-making, around, I have this offer, but I don't know, maybe it's not in the location or the function I was looking for. What do I do? How do I talk about it? And we encourage them, of course, to talk to their family, to talk to their, loved ones as they, work through that decision process. But we also try to, get them to step back and say, here's some factors to consider to help you, ultimately make that decision.
I would add to that that we discourage students from reneging on offers. That is definitely something that it's a no-no. We understand that sometimes they have to arrive to that decision, but as Laura mentioned, we would strongly encourage them to come to the Career Center and seek guidance in the process of accepting an offer before they actually make that decision. I know sometimes companies give them shorter deadlines in which students have to make the decision, but it's not unheard of for students, to reach out and ask the company for an extension. I would rather have the student do that than be pushed in making a decision that later on they're going to walk back on. So just something to keep in mind. We do have a policy for renegs. Sometimes students, when they're making these decisions, are thinking, it's only me and the company, and it's really not. They are a representative of Georgia Tech, and we do want to make sure that we don't sever the relationship of Georgia Tech with that company when that reneg happens. So that's why we're here. We're more than happy to work with your student in making sure that they're, making the decision, the right decision, the decision that they're interested in making. So I did have another question related to registration. So yes, absolutely. I would encourage your student that if they have secured something for the summer to register it with the Career Center. We cannot retroactively register students. So if they have done an experience, let's say, last fall or last summer, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to go back and register the student for something that happened in the past. However, if they secure something for the summer, or they're going to be securing something in the future, absolutely, we're more than happy to work with them and answer any questions that they might have pertaining to the registration process. All right. I know we're at time. I do think we answered most of the questions, but if not, I would encourage your student to reach out to the Career Center, and this is the email address that they can email us. We're more than happy to answer any questions that they might have. But the earlier they start, or the earlier they're engaging in looking for those opportunities, the better, because the more they practice on talking to employers, the more comfortable and more confident they're going to be feeling whenever they're making that connection, and hopefully, help them land that opportunity that they're looking for.
I'll
Well,
just say,
oh,
oh,
go
go ahead.
ahead, Laura. Nope, go ahead.
I was going to say last thing, because I usually get this question, is it harder to land a job or opportunity after one graduates versus while still in school? Please do not panic if your student is the one graduating or going into summer and doesn't have something lined up. Yes, we can absolutely work with them, try to help them identify an opportunity as quickly as possible. But in terms of the ideal state, the earlier you start, the better. There are some employers that have pretty lockstep recruiting cycles where they may only post in September or October for full-time or internship or co-op positions that, start that next summer. So please encourage them, to visit with us early so we have as many opportunities in front of them as possible. But let them know, again, the world of work does not revolve around college. There's always an increased business need or demand for services or products. So there's always going to be opportunity out there, and we're happy to help your student at any point on their journey.
Ladies, thank you all so much. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Laura. I think that this has been very timely, especially from a few things I've seen in the chat. I mean, I just have to, I have to say this has been our most attended live webinar that Ashley and I have done. So that tells us a lot that this was needed and helpful information. I've never had one that I could literally just sit back and you guys just started answering the questions on your own. So thank you for just being so intuitive and helpful and everything. So folks on the call, this has been recorded, so we will work behind the scenes to get this up and via the Hive. So you'll just revisit the post that this was advertised on. It'll have the recording there. It'll have the slides there. So I would say give us another like 24 to 48 hours. We'll make that happen for you. And we'll also do our best to sort of recreate some of the questions, maybe the most popular questions that we saw in there, and be able to put those in the text below it as well. So I do recognize the chat was very informative. And so we'll look into seeing if there's a way that we can kind of parse out some of that if we can. If not, we'll just try to do our best to put it in there and also add that recording and slides. So thank you again, Andrea. Thank you again, Laura. I have a feeling we'll be doing another one of these for next year. Very, very hot topic. So thank you all again, and hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.